Hello, everybody, and welcome to this coffee chat. Thank you so much for joining us. You're currently here with Justin from a new location. So just saying, you haven't seen this lovely backdrop before. Also, you have Doug and Sniper joining us today. Doug is also trying to get some extra people on still. Can you talk about what you're trying to do to get other people on?
No, I'm sending Isthmus a couple messages. He said that he was going to be busy, but yeah, we'll see if he comes back. Come on, respond my text.
True. Hopefully he doesn't get too annoyed with all your pings.
All right. Is there anybody else that can? Oh, Arctic Mine. Here, one sec. I'm sending him.
Oh, perfect. Arctic Mine will be joining us in just a second. Thanks, Doug, for doing that. Sniper, is this your first coffee chat?
Yeah, actually, I think it is.
After all this back and forth, I know you've been wanting to join for a while, but it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, unfortunately, starting earlier this year, work's gone kind of insane, and so I have been extremely busy.
Did that start pre-COVID, or was it like around the turn of that?
Pre-COVID, we were busy, but not quite as busy as we are. We really picked up like 2 or 3 months ago, and honestly, 10 a.m. is a terrible time for me. So.
Yeah, I heard, Doug makes this common joke about how he's trying to con me into changing the time of these coffee chats. Do you want to express that, Doug?
Well, yeah, no, we should actually push the coffee chats. I want to say forward and backwards, I guess. I mean, who are the current time zones? Arctic Mine, hello. Welcome to the coffee.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Arctic Mine.
Yes.
We're just starting with an even more casual than normal introduction, but that's what we're looking for, so that's good.
Sounds
good.
good.
We're joining a coffee chat for the first time. This is just where whoever happens to be, let's say, conned into joining the coffee chat of the Monero community, then we are here just to participate, answer questions that you have, respond to troll, who knows, right? But the point is, we're here at your leisure, and we're here to talk about Monero and the recent events that have been going on. You have Arctic Mine, who's a Monero core team member. He's been on quite a few of these in the past, so thank you so much for being back, Arctic Mine. It's good to have you. We have Sniper, who is the lead maintainer of Monero. He took the position from Fluffy Pony, quite a few months ago now. So there is a blog post that I can link to you in the chat if you have not seen that for some reason. If you are, a passive Monero participant that is joining us, we're great to have you too. And then we have Doug, who basically just bans people all day from the Monero stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah,
I'll ban you from this talk.
Oh, damn, you might be able to. I'm not sure. But yeah, Doug, first question that I have for you. Does it make you happy or very happy to restrict the content that people can talk about in the Monero community?
I couldn't be more elated.
Okay, good. It's important that we covered that because
we always got to talk about our censorship, tongue in cheek, because this community is honestly pretty open.
Yeah. It's every single time we talk about whether we should remove content, it's always like, well, what if this spirals out of control and removes an MRL paper? And sometimes I'm just like, oh God. But it is very, you take your job very seriously, Doug, and so we all definitely appreciate that. Speaking of which, you get paid for that, right? It is a job, an actual job? Is that correct?
Sorry, say that again?
That's an actual job, right? The Monero moderator. I hear that a lot of coins have that it's a paid position.
No. I do this stuff for free. I don't get paid nearly enough for this, and by that I mean zero.
I should start paying you $1 a month just so you can't say you're not paid.
Oh God!
So you're getting paid the perfect amount.
I'm not sure if I call zero perfect, but it's a very pretty number.
Hey, it gives you the liability protection to be like, well, I just am not paid, so what do you expect?
You guys could pay for my health insurance. That'd be nice.
Health insurance is expensive.
Yeah.
Just pretend,
Yes.
pretend to be like 22 and be on your parents' plan. That's what you're supposed to do.
We have a comment right now on the YouTube chat asking about the big news, and Coinbase commented about Monero. Coinbase did not comment about Monero. Brian Armstrong talked obliquely around Monero, but never actually even said the name.
Well, he said it, which was very obviously in reference to Monero. So I guess
Okay. Well, we can't. Well, he never actually said the word Monero. Like I mean, how are we supposed to take that? I think he was on the What Bitcoin Did podcast, and he kind of got blindsided by the question. Like, yes, I'm on a Bitcoin podcast. There's no chance that we're going to get asked a question about like the big elephant in the room. Why haven't we listed the most popular privacy coin? And he got asked a question and had to respond to it, I guess. But I think it's very interesting if you listen to it. He never even says the word.
I mean, maybe, but he did. He at least very clearly referred to it and talked about it. So that's why, to set a little bit extra context, Brian Armstrong is the CEO of Coinbase. So he obviously has presumably some level of control over the organization. And Peter McCormick asked him, like, why haven't you listed Monero? Which he stated in his opinion was really the most sensible altcoin of the alts to add. And it was a little bit of back and forth about why Brian stated he wished he could add it. As Doug very clearly pointed out, it was not Monero, it was it. Otherwise talked about some back channel communications they had with regulators and how it was something that they were interested in adding, but basically it takes a little bit of extra convincing to get certain individuals, certain groups comfortable with Monero.
Well,
it's all a risk-based approach. We've talked about compliance quite a few times, not just in the coffee chat, but we have a Monero compliance work group that tries to address a lot of these questions. And I think his comments were quite broad, but at least I wouldn't argue they're inaccurate. I think it's correct that regulators are more likely to be weirded out or more hesitant with Monero, but with enough time and convincing, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to list Monero, just like Kraken and the others.
It makes sense. I mean, of course, that explains why Coinbase hasn't listed any privacy coins yet.
I see what you did there.
The regulators would be so mad if Coinbase listed a privacy coin. It's understandable that there are none there. Absolutely zero.
It is so Chainalysis didn't quite go to that extent. They called Dash a not privacy coin, but they didn't quite go to the extent of calling Zcash not a privacy coin.
But then why are they listed on Coinbase if regulators are so uncomfortable with privacy coins?
It's just that they can just mark the whole private pool as bad or higher risk. So if you touch the shielded pool in Zcash and send money to Coinbase, they're going to just mark it as higher risk. It's hard to do that with Monero. They're like the whole pool is sort of marked as higher risk from a similar perspective, but at the same time, it's a very it's prone to false positives. Like the vast majority of deposits you're going to receive are just speculators and miners. They're not going to be people doing illicit activities. So getting regulators comfortable with that takes a bit more time, but it will eventually happen. Assuming Monero stays, relatively high up on the market cap, someone will eventually add it. I mean, to be clear, they already have. Like Kraken and others have already added Monero. It's just we're talking about Coinbase specifically, and I don't think Gemini is really going to add it anytime soon. They've been not just conservative in adding it, but also more openly against the idea of supporting Monero within Gemini. So,
or are they listing other alts now?
What was the last alt they listed? When did they do that?
Does Gemini have any alts? I thought they were primarily Bitcoin.
I mean, they have ETH. They have Zcash.
As if anybody cares about ETH.
Oh, they do though.
Ah,
That's the sad part.
terrible.
The sad, but I wish I could say that people do care about you. Like,
By the way,
I
I need to pitch you on my DeFi project immediately following this. In fact, I should do it during the coffee chat. I think.
Well, this
I have
sounds
I have a
like
DeFi
terrible
idea too. See, what we need to do is find the most minimal possible change that we can make to the protocol, so that we can claim we're DeFi and get on that list. Like we could definitely be top 10 DeFi product. We're not top 10 like market cap, but we could say we're top 10 DeFi.
Well, I have a Canadian example, and that is CoinSquare. Now, CoinSquare apparently has a significant risk around listing Monero, but didn't have much risk about engaging in wash trading and getting the wrath of the Ontario Securities Commission to the point that they had to enter into a settlement agreement with them.
I thank you so much, Arctic Mind, for bringing that up. Does anyone else here know the story of CoinSquare, know what went down? Because this is actually quite an amazing story.
No, please go deeper.
It's a bit fascinating because basically CoinSquare essentially had to pay, two of the directors of CoinSquare had to pay a settlement of about close to $2 million between both of them for engaging in wash trading that got the wrath of the Ontario Securities Commission. So there was an announcement, and then there was a settlement agreement, which was disclosed. And the really interesting part about CoinSquare, of course, they list Dash, but they don't list Monero. And that I find quite interesting about perception of risk in this subject. But that's my comment on the whole subject.
CoinSquare is an interesting case because the head of leadership very openly engaged in wash trading on their platform. And they were caught, and they were actually punished much harder than most Canadian regulators punish anybody. Like, after dealing with Canadian regulators a little bit, typically, at least compared to the United States, they're seen as pretty light touch in terms of fines. But I was shocked to see such significant fines levied against CoinSquare, even for gross cases like that. And what the CEO stepped down, another partner stepped down, the chief compliance officer stepped down, and they need to find people that are outside of the business in order to fill those positions. So, Doug, I think I should just point you, and then you get Snipe on board. I mean, Arctic Mind, you're already Canadian. I mean, the three of you are now.
Can I get a Canadian passport? Can I get out of the U.S. right now, please?
I mean,
If that's
I got
an
some
option
phone calls
for
I
this
need to
mess
make.
right now.
I got to get out of here soon.
I think if you get a job in Canada, you would have a reasonable chance of applying for landed immigrant status.
I'm not sure if they'll
resident
take me at
status.
this point.
But
I got too many people in Canada that are going to say, no, I can't come there.
But yes, that's an interesting story.
No, but that's totally. I just love that example, Arctic Mind, because you just so clearly pointed out that they were on the surface so worried about adding Monero as a coin because, oh no, FinTrack obligations. Oh no, what are we going to do? Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're doing something that's incredibly illegal. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Luckily, there are good options for people to buy Monero.
You mean they were acting like a finance company?
Well, it depends on the amounts. They basically have to buy Bitcoin and then trade it in some other exchange for Monero or vice versa. I think
I've heard Newton's do, like, have you used Newton before?
Well, actually, it's interesting because the one CoinSquare itself, but they were talking about accessing over-the-counter desks for larger amounts. It is possible to, at least that's what my because I'm a customer of CoinSquare. Told me is that for larger amounts, they had access to OTC desks. That's what I was told for trading Monero. Basically, if you want to get a decent liquidity, you're really looking at trading Bitcoin and then trading the Bitcoin for Monero in one of the major exchanges. For smaller amounts, I would suggest that simply because of high Bitcoin fees, you may want to look at something like Bitcoin Cash and then trading it for Monero on another exchange. So that's the pathways that I'm aware of. I haven't followed the case of Neutron specifically, where they have the liquidity, or whether they're just basically maybe offering access to OTC, which is what affect CoinSquare, I would say. So interesting.
Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. We have an internal chat in here for very secret conversations. Just
Yes.
And Doug is a comedian, of course. So, I mean, I haven't used it because I'm not Canadian and therefore can't qualify to use it. But I've heard people use Newton for buying small amounts of Monero, and they have a pro API available now too, so you can do like the whole whatever you want to do. So Canadians, I think, have easier options because you can just buy with a debit card. And in the United States, what we recommend a wire transfer to Kraken, that's a little annoying for retail. So
yeah, I mean, for small amounts, you can, to some degree, go through Interact, basically. And there's, I think, a limit of about $3,000 Canadian dollars on the transactions for that. But I think it's also limits on the exchange itself. Then there are the more conventional transfers, just straight wire transfers.
So quick segue into a second topic, because this looks kind of interesting. We have a question in the YouTube chat about the potential to transition to a seed phrase system which encodes the wallet creation height. I mean, so the person who asked that, I can think of a couple issues with that initially. The first is the creation height is going to be potentially unbounded, which means that the seed phrase wouldn't have a fixed end bound, theoretically, if time went on to infinity. I'm not sure if that's actually a big issue or not. We could possibly have a dynamic length phrase. It wouldn't be an issue for very long. Encoding the wallet creation time into the seed phrase is kind of interesting, but I also could see having some issues because it's not enforced by the protocol, and it's not enforceable by the protocol. You could just go and modify your seed and say, oh yes, my wallet was created 5 days from when it was actually created, so nobody knows my real transactions. I guess it's more just shorthand to yourself. Okay, I'm done rambling.
I'm just trying to find the link. Okay, I just found it. I'm going to paste that on the YouTube side. Sniper or Arctic Mind, do you have any comments on that?
Let Sniper go first.
Nah, not a ton. I mean, I'm mostly here, I'm admittedly out of date on a lot of stuff because I've just been cranking through so much work. So
we can go and pose the question to the MRL as to whether this is a potentially viable proposal. I think I'd probably lean towards it being more complication than benefit, but it's worth asking.
It's definitely, there's no hurt in asking the question. I get a funny feeling that's exactly what it's going to end up being, more complication than what exactly is the real benefit of this. But that'll be kind of my thought on it, but it's definitely worth asking the question and see what people feel about it and what a lot of the developers feel about it. So.
Yeah, I mean, from a user experience perspective, the main thing people want is people to not have to write down a separate restore height. But at the same time, it's in that GitHub issue, it sort of discusses some of the benefits and disadvantages for including it in the seed phrase. So there's definitely, there's some discussion, and I don't think it's certainly not a quick decision to be made. That's something that will be done very carefully. Anything that touches the mnemonic seed, you want to be very careful with.
Oh, come on. You just write it down on a piece of paper and you just stick it to your monitor.
That's a paper wallet, right? Just like right by my other passwords.
Yeah, that's where I keep mine.
Well, if I'm going to put it from the sketch would be a possibility. It'll take a while to figure out how to get at it, in which case you can move the Monero out of the way. That's my favorite solution.
I mean, I guess I see putting an offset into the seed being one of those things that you don't necessarily need as long as you're willing to wait for the blockchain to scan, right? Like, if you know the date the wall was created, we already have tools for setting the date offset. They work fine. So embedding it into the seed just automates that process. I mean, if you're recording your seed anywhere sensible, you can just write down the date you made the seed.
Stop talking about classified stuff. Diego's here.
No. That's not gonna be a problem.
How's it going, guys?
You're kind of quiet, Diego.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, you're quiet.
Okay, how's this? Better?
A bit, I think. You're still kind of quiet, though.
Okay, just a second.
We are actually, this is no longer the coffee chat. It is Diego tech support hour. So
What? Okay.
he was late to his own tech support hour.
That's right. I apologize to everybody. Everyone's gonna.
He was fencing.
I was. Yes, I was.
That is pretty.
That's pretty.
I know what you mean there, Doug, but that's pretty badass if you were actually fencing. To those who don't know, do you want to explain how you were fencing, Doug? Sorry, Diego. That way, everyone else will get the joke.
I was putting up a fence. Putting up a fence around my property. And took a little bit of time. Apologize for it, but I'm here now. So everyone who has all of the questions and all of the everything, please feel free to let me know. What are you guys talking about here on this coffee chat?
We talked about the whole Coinbase thing. We talked about regulatory actions in Canada against an exchange that was concerned slightly about adding Monero, but we're wash trading on the back end, and we're very, for Canada, quite heavily penalized. So yeah, that's been about it so far, and a bunch of other miscellaneous chats. We've actually have a good number of questions coming in today too. Someone's saying Diego, is the FBI looking in for you? Now, granted, for some coffee chats, we actually do have an NSA van in here, but I don't have the computer set up in that way, so we're free from the NSA listening to that conversation today. Just letting everyone know we're good.
I mean, let's be fair. The FBI has come knocking on my door before because of my pool, so.
I can imagine. Do they?
Yeah.
Did you ever have to make an argument? I know, I mean, it's the FBI, so probably not. But I guess, first of all, what were they sort of asking about? And then the second question, did you ever have to make the argument that you were not a money transmitter?
It's actually a pretty fun one. The Louisiana office of the FBI office in Louisiana had a server compromised. And somebody jammed a miner onto it and aimed it at XMR pool back in the day. And so they were trying to find out if I had any information about the IP address or anything that had accessed the site or pool like that.
Oh, they weren't accusing you of putting the malware on. I mean,
No.
that'd be stupid.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, throwing anything on an FBI server, that's friggin' retarded.
And then pointing it at your home computer.
Yeah, no, pass. But yeah, so the FBI has actually come knocking for that information. I'm just like, the pool is designed to store no information. I have nothing I can help you with. I have no logs, and they went on with their happy way. Freaked the heck out of my roommate though when they opened the door and they were like, "Hi, the FBI's here, and I'm looking for Alexander Blair."
That
sound like a fun house call.
I mean, they were really cool about it. They left their card because I was at work at the time, and it was really simple because they were just looking for information on if they had any information on who compromised their box. I'm like, how do you guys not know who compromised your server?
I'm just imagining the roommate conversation where everybody like, Alexander, like, I'm sorry, but you need to stop having so many FBI agents over. Like, it's just too many people coming into our apartment all the time.
Sometimes you just need the FBI knocking on the door.
Gotta keep you honest. So is that the only real interaction you've had with regulators, at least you can talk about?
Oh, God, no. One of my previous jobs was working as a Ethereum auditor. I have family that has worked for the government in the past.
Wait a second, Ethereum auditor? Can we remove this guy as core maintainer?
Thankfully, all that I do is separate from all of that. But yeah, and I mean, it's certainly not my first run over the regulatory. Like, that's just part of, admittedly, being an adult in the U.S. at this point.
Yeah, have we? Sorry to switch topics a little bit. Have we discussed DEF CON at all here yet, or no?
No, we haven't. Not today.
We haven't even said the word.
Okay.
No, yeah, we have. Diego already did.
That's right. I just did. So I'm going to take a moment and talk with the people about DEF CON. All of you people that are watching here and now.
It's a place for people who are hard of hearing.
Not quite. As most of you know, we have had a presence at DEF CON, which is the biggest hacker conference in the world for the past 2 years. We've had our own village. They've given us the room. They've given us our own space.
You're really quiet and cutting out. Like if you say like a single word and things, it comes through, but like when you speak in a row, it muddles and cuts out as background noise.
Okay, how's this?
Better, I think.
Okay, I was trying that with the pop filter, which I did own, but I guess it's not a thing. So we're going to go ahead and keep it like this. Is this good for everybody? Yeah? We all Gucci?
I can hear your P's. They kind of pop.
Oh, yeah. Without the pop filter, I apologize. But back to DEF CON. We have had a presence for the past 2 years. We have had our own space where we have given talks. Most of them Monero related, some of them tangentially related to Monero. And as you might imagine, with the coronavirus situation, DEF CON as a whole was moved to a digital format. To my understanding, that it is now free, so you don't have to travel to Las Vegas, Nevada, which is a big plus. You don't have to pay for their gigantic hotel fees, which is a big plus. And
not that bad.
Yeah.
Besides, you're helping support the lead maintainer by letting me live in the city.
That's right.
So I might actually be able to attend this year.
Yes. If you have never attended a DEF CON, this will be 0.3. This will be 30% of the experience. Who knows? So DEF CON has gone digital, and they have invited us to take part again as a Monero village, which we have been prepping for the past many weeks. I don't know if you guys have you discussed this at all in previous coffee chats?
Not for this year's DEF CON, actually.
Yeah, I think I missed the last coffee chat, so I wouldn't know. But we are going to be there, and all of the things are going to be streamed, I believe, via Twitch, although it's kind of up in the air. DEF CON is actually quite soon. For those of you who don't know, it's August 7th, 8th, and 9th, I believe.
How much are tickets for entry to the Discord?
I don't know how they're handling the Discord. So it is taking place over both Discord and Twitch. Somewhat. No, I'm not going to comment on that. So it will be freely streamable. All of our talks will be freely streamable, and all of theirs as well. There are still other villages, like the Privacy Village. I don't know which other ones have a presence. I didn't take a look. Maybe
there's
some
still
of
the because blockchain one too. There's
yeah. But like I don't know the more hands-on ones, like the lock picking village, which they had. I don't know how much they're going to be doing, or if they're going to be doing anything at all. But go to DEF CON's website and take a look. They've got some pretty interesting content. It's all going to be available for free. So by all means, take a look at it and come hang out with us when we do our things. Anything else to add? We're kind of in crunch mode. I know I've been in crunch mode. For those of you who don't know, I moved houses, which is why I haven't been around for the past little bit. But I'm playing catch up. I'm trying to get us back on board with that DEF CON. We finalized a schedule and sent that off to them. So things are coming along swimmingly on that front. By all means, come check out our village as we approach. As we approach DEF CON, we're going to have more and more information. We're going to get the website pretty soon, and everything like that. Any questions, comments about DEF CON?
I don't know. People who want to watch it, I'll send out a notification on this channel. So make sure you subscribe and click the little bell button on this channel. Of course, we're going to become those people. And then you'll get a notification for the link to the Twitch. Otherwise, you can just find it right now too.
I mean, if we don't become those people, how are we supposed to keep paying for maintaining Monero? We have to make sure that we can get enough viewers for our mid-roll ads.
Meanwhile, this coffee chat is sponsored by Bitcoin Core. Bitcoin Core. You know it's more private than Monero if you know how to figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, you're the loser. All right. Now that our sponsor's over, I don't know. Anything that people want to talk about? I have a whole list. So just, Seth Simmons, who's a fantastic Monero community member, put together a list for me of what to talk about. So honestly, I'm just like a face here. I don't do any work anymore. But of course, if other people have topics of conversation besides DEF CON, let me know. Oh, during DEF CON, we are also going to have interactive events. If you were here for the Moneroversary, you probably remember the Kahoot quiz where you got to answer questions correctly, and I still told you were wrong by accident, if you remember that mistake. And then also we had a meme competition. Those two things are coming right back for DEF CON. So you'll get to see us all making some more memes and things because, of course, those are always fun. So we're trying to make it interactive. So make sure you make sure you join us because it'll be a fun time. Okay, no one else has topics to talk about. I just come up with something.
Okay. Well, no, I was gonna. Need Money 90. Are you back? He said he was gonna BRB. He said not to call on him, but I'm doing it anyway. Because if he is, then we can maybe discuss some of the things we've been doing. But since he's not, I'll text him and ask. Let's move on. Have we discussed to death CL-SAG and the like?
No, we touched a little bit on the update, but that definitely needs to be a topic of conversation. Yeah, right before you do that, I'll hand it off to you though to talk about it. But thank you M5M for 400 for joining us. It's always good to have you. It's been a while since you've been on, but we are always happy to extend an invitation.
I think I never actually was on because I had technical problems last time. So this is actually the first one.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for joining us. M5M is also... do you want to introduce yourself a little bit in case people on YouTube don't know who you are?
Yeah, sure. My nick is M5M400. It's actually, in retrospect, it's a stupid choice. It's a stupid nick.
Not as dumb as some.
Yeah, right. I've been in the Monero space since like 2016, been in crypto since, 2011. Yeah. Some work colleague dragged me into it, said, hey, look at this. This is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is nice. You should mine Bitcoin. And I said, nah, man, my stuff is busy with SETI at home. So basically missed the Bitcoin train and said, when the same guy came to me in 2016 and said, hey, look at this, Monero, untraceable digital currency. I said, okay, I'm not going to make this mistake again. And I actually looked at it. And that's how I ended up here. I'm from Austria. And yeah, I mean, apart from being a bit active in the community on Reddit and on IRC, I also run support XMR with Sniper. And that's about it.
You're always welcome here. Thanks. Good to have you. If people have questions for anyone here, of course, you can put them in the chat. There was a question about botnets that came in. I think we're going to table that at the moment and give it to Diego to talk about what is going on with CL-SAG and all the super fun Monero updates this late summer, early fall.
Well, as I alluded to, I've been moving the past couple of weeks, so actually I was hoping to get somebody else to give an update on CL-SAG, so I could update myself as well as I'm trying to play catch up.
I wouldn't mind talking a bit about that. Sure. I mean, of course, the CL-SAG audit has gone through, and the code will be in the next hard fork, which is due for October. I do have a bit of my own involvement in this, in the sense that I'm looking at the implications on fees and scaling. And bottom line, there'll be a slight reduction in the normal fee, but I'm going to recommend against keeping the very low fee. So there will be changes coming in that perspective, particularly with respect to an issue that was raised with variability in fees on MRL. So I'm doing some work on that. So that's that aspect of it. So yes, we will see a hard fork. We will see smaller transactions. and the normal fee will actually be lower as a consequence of that. So that's sort of a direct consequence for a user, in the sense that if you want to, you're basically going to have a smaller fee. There's, of course, some other more things down the pipeline, which is not going into is Bulletproof Plus, which is another further reduction in transaction size, relatively small comparatively, but everything keeps adding up. And yeah, my comment is, of course, that there's way more to Monero than privacy. Scaling is a huge element of it. And I would make a comment again that I've made before, that if you study Monero scaling, you have some very unpleasant conclusions for Bitcoin, and particularly its Bitcoin clones, with respect to security over the long term, because of the fact that they do not have a minimum tail emission, and we do. And that is going to get more and more interesting as we come down the road. Bitcoin, our tail emission is comparable to one further halving in Bitcoin. After that, their security will be in question. And that will be my comment. The flip side of, say, for example, something like Bitcoin Cash could have some serious problems with scaling in the future. Basically with security. Bitcoin to a lesser degree could also. That's just my comment on that.
Okay, nice. Just to set the timeline stage for everyone here, the scheduled date of the next hard fork is October 17th. We made sure that we had to schedule it during a coffee chat, so don't worry. We can still be here to hopefully not wait around for a few hours like we did that one time, even though our viewership was still going up. So people like watching nothing happening, apparently. They like the anticipation of waiting for blocks. We should really note that for marketing purposes. But instead, Monero's boring, so we're expecting a pretty normal update going on October 17th. Of course, RandomX is not changing. The algorithm is staying the same. There is no supposed tweak. Monero's done with that behind it. Expect to release about 1 month before, just like we always try to do, so around September 17th, hopefully a little bit earlier. It really depends on how quickly the testing goes through. But this is actually a good case where the Monero community, Sarang Noether in particular, was able to coordinate with the developers of Ledger and Trezor, find out what their timelines are, and then work with them in order to make sure that they met up with what we wanted to do. So we actually have a pretty high degree of confidence now that they will be ready more than a month before the hard fork date. So that's, solidifying the Monero ecosystem stability quite a bit. You should expect a blog post coming out in the next week or two about how Monero is making efforts to make the ecosystem more stable, more structured in terms of its releases. That way, companies that have integrated Monero, other services, should expect a little less chaos around the upgrade times. We're trying to make things as simple as possible for everybody here. So that's the high level. Of course, as ArcticMine mentioned, CL tags are in the release. These are more efficient transactions. They have been audited. The audit report is coming out. We're basically waiting on OSTIF at this point just to approve the release. However, the Monero audit work group has already approved it for release. So we're good on our end. There are no issues really with the code. There are a few changes to the proof in the math paper, but ultimately it didn't end up changing the code or anything. So ultimately, very, very, very minor changes. And you'll see about 15% more efficient transactions as a result. Like ArcticMine, Bulletproof Plus are not coming in. That's about 10% more efficient, but at least on the Bulletproof components. But we decided the gain was pretty marginal. We'll rush in.
That was 15%. Was it on single out or multi outs?
Because
I know that those end up being very different.
I could give you sort of a rough figure of this. For a 2-in, 2-out transaction, roughly from about 2,600 bytes to around 2,000 bytes or 1980 bytes, something like that. So that's roughly the change show in the transaction size.
Okay.
So it's significant. It's just an incremental improvement in many respects.
No, that's solid.
And it does have an impact on fees, of course.
Okay, so I also have something else to discuss alongside Need Money 90. If you're ready to jump on board that train.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, do you want to introduce or
Yeah.
Okay, go for
Okay,
it.
so well, actually, there's 3 people involved, unless no. Okay, yeah. So it's
Okay, go
Diego
ahead.
and I. Diego and I are making an online radio thing that will hopefully be funded by the CCS. We'll hold out a little hope that you trust that we'll be able to actually make something of this. But the basic idea is to have some sort of semi-user interactive radio station where Monero people can request songs that be played on it, and they just be played on a broadcast stream, and that could be used for other purposes. I mean, it's mostly just a platform for creators to utilize it as a single audio stream that you can expect some people will be listening to and schedule events for. So, should be kind of neat.
We will be having minor gate advertisements. We'll have all sorts of different. No,
Diego's
okay.
lying. Diego's lying.
The plan has changed out from underneath my feet. No, but yeah, the idea is that we can utilize this radio station for common, just listening online radio that a lot of people do. It's becoming more and more popular these days. But there's also like plenty of outreach opportunities that can come from this. There's announcements that can be made regarding the upgrades, or write down your seed. Maybe we just play that on loop for about an hour until people actually do it. There's I don't know. I really think this kind of thing has a lot of potential for the community. It's pretty low effort. It's pretty low cost in terms of licensing. Like, it's surprisingly low in terms of the licensing necessary to do something like this, and then building a library of songs over time or something. It's like, so I think for the potential that it has, it's quite low cost, and it's something that nobody's really doing. And the cool thing is, like, if we decide a year down the road that we don't, this was either too much more work than we expected, or we're just not getting any of the benefits out of this, like, we can just stop. The license is good for a year, and if we just decide not to renew, that's totally fine. So, like, this isn't like a huge sunk cost on things. I think it's worth giving a shot.
Somebody in chat says chill lo-fi tunes to write down your seed to.
That's exactly the vibes that we're going for. So even as recently as last night, Need Money 90 and I were deploying a couple of open source software options for online radio hosting. Some of them have like DJ options and stuff, and open source is what it is. So,
man, some of those websites really look like they were made by open source developers.
Oh man,
that's a compliment, right?
If you get my drift.
I mean, come on, just throw up a shoutcast server, just stream straight out of Winamp. Like, you can just go completely old school with this, guys.
Gotta have like the Winamp.
Winamp. It kicks the llamas.
So that's kind of been on the radar as well, if anybody finds that kind of thing interesting.
Monero is moving into the 20th century, the early 20th century.
This is webcasting.
That's going a little far.
It should also be noted that as I was doing research for online radio, doing online television is just a next step. It's just natural.
How much does it cost to reserve one of the radio spectrum bands? Like, if we
have fun with that. The licensing around that is absolutely horrifying.
I do not want to ever know what that looks like.
Oh man, when they did the Spectrum auction from Timo, when Timo was doing it, like, the Spectrum they were selling off for the cell bands was in the literal billions. Like, it is insane what it costs to get Spectrum these days.
We want people to be able to run Monero nodes anywhere. That means having radio
exactly.
signals.
No, exactly.
Well, I mean,
let's have a CCS for a couple billion.
Just sponsor for Starlink connectivity. They're finally doing beta.
Wait, no. Let's have a proposal to dilute the supply to buy a Spectrum band.
Oh.
That'd be pretty significant dilution.
All right. Well, all jokes aside, this is coming soon to online internet near you. Some days. Monero FM is kind of what we're looking at here. Got the domain, so none of you people watching this can't steal it from us and then try to upcharge us and squat on it. Although you should be doing your squats. If you're not doing your squats, everyone should be doing their squats. But that's that aside. Monero FM, and also keeping in mind for the future, and Need Money 90 says I'm crazy. The Monero channel, right? On the internet, we hire some people in third world countries to write awful scripts and get awful actors and make a whole bunch of awful sitcoms, and in between that all of them integrate writing down your seed in some way. So we don't. I think it's a great idea.
Just get that. Just do Fiverr. Just do Fiverr all the way.
Yes. See, like we don't have to get purchase any syndicated show rights. We just make our own, and like it doesn't matter if they're low quality and the worst thing you've ever seen.
You should
We had some people come in with like, what about
pirates
XM?
to
Sorry,
do a
they said like, what about XM radio? So the problem with XM radio with XMR in a single chunk, you're probably going to get some calls from Sirius XM. I'm going to imagine. You probably can't call it XM radio. Sorry, M5M, did I interrupt you?
I was just going to say you should get the XMR pirate to do some jingles, and I'm chipping in for that.
Okay. We can also bring the Clueless Whale in there too, and the two of them can just go at it together, I think.
Right. Can make it a thing.
We have a news section. Welcome to Monero News.
No, really though, I want to get sound blurbs from a lot of community members saying you're listening to Monero FM.
just like, hi, this is Taylor Swift. This is somebody. You're listening to Monero FM.
You're listening to Monero FM. Like if we just get a bunch of those, that'd be great.
Yeah, except instead of celebrities, we get like hey, this is Diego. This is Justin. You're listening to Monero FM.
Just total casual.
This is Justin Nobody, and you are listening to Radio Nobody. So no, I think it's I hope it goes really well for the two of you, and I think that it's cool that we're looking at the actual licensing routes so that it'll work out, and it'll be another avenue for people in the Monero community to explore their creativity and be able to hopefully get some fun content out there that we have a mechanism to distribute it with. So it would be pretty cool. It's a reason to hang out with Monero people throughout the whole day in a casual sense. They just have the radio going on in the background, maybe some way to chat to each other as it goes on. So yeah, turn off your Twitch streams, join Monero Radio.
I think that's
maybe we can make Monero Radio a Twitch stream, and then we could get bits or something.
Let's not ever touch Twitch. I hate it as a platform, but
You're not a gamer? You're not a gamer, Diego?
Goodness, no. I mean, everyone who tries to invite me to do those things with them, they like, Diego, you suck.
Unless it's medieval sword fighting simulators.
Okay. So that's it on this topic. If we're approaching on 11:50, so maybe like 10ish minutes left on the coffee chat period. I don't know if there were any other topics that people want to touch on.
Just to make sure we covered the questions in chat, there was one person who did ask about botnets. Does anyone have any comments, concerns? Really, I personally don't have really much to speculate or talk about. But if other people want to speak about network mining activity, by all means, here you go. Run with it.
Well, of course they're botnets. I mean,
okay.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to deny it. Kind of hard to gauge how many of the botnets are actual botnets and how many of them are cloud miners with near infinite budgets. Yeah, I mean, it was to be expected if we are moving to a CPU-centric algorithm. So, yeah, there are botnets on the network.
I mean, the second question is, can we really be Is it our fault that other people's computers are vulnerable?
I mean, so I mean, as a pool op, right, we deal with this not all the time, but I mean, we get reports from the various IP banners out there, the various blacklists, DNS RBLs, things like that, that we get to act on. It's slowed down some, I would say, overall. I know I haven't gotten as many reports recently, but the problem, it's cat and mouse, right? Pools don't tend to like botnets, to be perfectly honest, because they tend to be a lot of really terrible computers that throw a lot of really bad shares at you and just do nasty things to the system. And that's why M5 and I ban them all the damn time, because that's just kind of how it goes. The functional side is that they're still profitable, right? Because if you can comp a box, so you can throw a miner on it, it doesn't cost you anything. Is it our problem that the computers are vulnerable? I personally don't think so. I mean, there have been tools written by the Monero community to help people find miners and stop them because of the memory traces left by RandomX. If companies are choosing not to implement this into their scanners, that's their problem. Microsoft has an antivirus on every single machine that runs Windows, and it would be trivial for them to put out a detector for it at that point. And so
How hard would it be to go and try and talk to somebody internal to Windows about that? How deep have we gone?
I have no idea, and I don't know if that's even necessarily our place.
Well, I have a couple of comments on this. I mean, the first is that any kind of malware is essentially adaptive, and by the time an antivirus system detects it, it's usually a good 20 to 48 hours that the thing can be out there.
No, this is different.
This is completely
this
separate.
detects your registers.
Right.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but there's always this lag in there.
But there isn't. But that's the whole point, right? Because RandomX leaves a traceable memory signature inside of your registers. It doesn't matter if you modify the miner; it's RandomX itself. So if you detect the memory signature, you know that the RandomX is running, and you know there's a miner running.
So basically, yes, absolutely. So then, what you're saying is that once you actually put that in place, you would prevent you would detect it.
Right, and that's the entire point of that. I believe, Sophos or one of the other...
Yes. I understand what you're saying.
And so it doesn't matter if the signature of the binary changes. Since it's going to the registers directly, I mean, just sort of modifying the algorithm so it doesn't use the registers, which is going to break RandomX horribly at that point. Like, you're still going to get the same benefit. That was the entire point behind the detector.
But if the question that then comes is the proprietary antivirus software even adapted to detect something like that? Or are they just basically looking at signatures of binaries?
I mean, that's why I'm saying Microsoft. Microsoft used to directly run JavaScript as system on your system when it was doing detection. Like, they got in a lot of trouble for that. That tells me they can probably run a binary to monitor for RandomX being slapped in, or put it into their binary just as a check.
Because that essentially is where the question comes down. I agree with what you're saying, but I'm saying, are these companies and the antivirus products, are they prepared to do that, and are they prepared to put the resources into that?
I mean, I'm literally saying Microsoft, which runs antivirus on everybody's machine anyway. And they already have a history of doing terrible things with their antivirus, so I don't see why they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, so just to interject here really quickly, I mean, we've seen an increasing amount, like Monero malware for mining has been around forever, right? I mean, by forever, I mean a long time. And it's not new to anybody at this point. But something that's coming out that is more common now, that is likely to get people to be interested in asking their vendors about additional Monero-related malware protection, which will include mining, is ransomware attacks that ask for Monero are up. There's more of them. There probably will always be more of them going into the future, where they're probably more likely to ask for Monero instead of Bitcoin. Some of the largest offer discounts for Monero now. So the talk of the cyber community has been, first off, in ransomware, like, okay, well, how are you, can you handle Monero payments? Can you deal with this sort of ransomware? And even though it's like the same type of software, it doesn't matter if they're asking for Bitcoin or Monero. I think this will help prompt people to be like, oh, well, we have a comprehensive Monero-related mitigation solution, which involves avoiding mining on the system level if possible, or whatever. So I hope that'll help prompt them to get those checks in their own antivirus so that people are less impacted. But of course, you have old systems, you have old everything. People will find something to mine on all the time.
You have a sizable number of Windows 7 machines that are no longer even supported by Microsoft and are out there being used because people simply do not see the point in upgrading to Windows 10 and paying all this money for essentially what for their needs might not be that significant improvement, other than the fact that they're not getting any security upgrades. So that's the kind of thing we're up against. I mean, there's even Windows XP machines still around, believe it or not, that are still running on the internet. So that's a major problem. I mean, the intrinsic designs in Windows that make it particularly vulnerable to malware. And this kind of ransomware scenario, well, the technical issues behind detecting ransomware and encrypting is essentially has little to do with the payment method. Although Monero is, in many ways, would be an attractive payment method, not just, in my opinion, for the people that are for the criminals involved, but also for the victims in certain circumstances. So yeah, I mean, but I think one of the problems that we would have to face as a community is the negative publicity created around it, which is instead of addressing the cause of the problem, which in obviously is essentially vulnerabilities in the operating system.
Yeah, I don't really think addressing the cause is possible, especially as the world gets more and more digital, as people move more and more towards like the Internet of Things as a way of life, which I think is a net negative move personally, but that's just my opinion. We're just seeing more and more things that need security in a world where security for Silicon Valley and the things that they make is kind of like their last priority. So really, we're just putting more and more internet-enabled devices out there with poor security, and when people take advantage of this, they're like, "Oh, it's Monero's fault." You know, if they want Monero or they mine Monero or whatever, you know, the criminals just want good money, right? Sound money, as the maximalists say. They just want sound money, and you know, so people point their fingers like, "See, this is Monero's fault," when really the conversation should be shifting. Like, why are people who are developing Internet of Things devices and you know, yes, systems administrators for servers or whatever, like, why are standard security practices not?
You're cutting out. You're getting muffled again.
Oh no. No.
I think your internet connection might be an issue.
I see. I do apologize. Did you get the point, the gist?
But I did get the gist of the comment. I mean, and I agree with the problem. But fundamentally, I mean, if you put weak devices in the marketplace and you do not care about security, which in fact is rampant with consumer devices, then you're going to have malware. And that's the reality. And I think it's not unreasonable for us as a community to say, well, this is what's going on. And yes, we get all these complaints about Monero mining or malware, but you need to fix up your operating system, you need to fix up your security, and you need to improve how you secure consumer devices.
Yes. Applause. 1,000 times yes.
So we're like at time here, so it's time to start wrapping up. I want to give a quick comment that Andreas Antonopoulos has stated that he is adding support for Monero for all of his products at his web store, so that's cool. The BTC Pay integration is going somewhere. That's cool. And I realize that you can buy Amazon gift cards on coin cards too, so you can use your Monero to buy an Amazon gift card to buy Mastering Monero. So now you have no excuse not to buy it. So go and buy it. Get educated. Other than that, any final comments for people? Doug, M5M, Artmine, Sniper?
Nothing from my end.
Sorry, I was late.
Good.
Okay, yeah, I try to make this one a little bit more lighthearted and fun. Hopefully you're able to answer all the questions in chat. We will be back in 4 weeks for the next coffee chat. And of course, next week we are having the Monero Community Workgroup meeting on Monero-Community IRC channel. If you would like to join us there, it's always appreciated. That channel has actually been quite busy the past few weeks. It's been more lively than normal even. So lots of great discussion going on there if you want to remain in contact with the Monero community. And of course, keep an eye out for Monero Radio, because, you know, Doug and Diego are coming up with this cool thing that hopefully we get to take advantage of. So, you know, should be a blast for everyone involved. Other than that, thank you everyone for joining. Snipe, it was great to have you the first time. And Pybam, great to have you on. Of course, always good to see familiar faces.
Last thing. The next coffee chat will not be occurring before DEF CON, so we would not get a chance to discuss that again. DEF CON is in like 2 weeks' time, so look through the standard
You're
channel.
underwater again.
Oh goodness. Look through the standard channels: Twitter, Reddit, whatever, and look out for information about DEF CON if you're interested.
Yeah, and I will post it in this YouTube channel too. So, I mean, by all means, please go pay attention to Reddit, IRC Twitter like you normally would. But also, I will do my best to make sure that you have notifications here too if you opt into those. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. This is a fun time this evening. Hopefully we can make the other ones as fun as this. Yeah, I'm going to stop the stream here.
Have a
Take
good
care.
afternoon.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Have a good one, guys.